Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the WWE Clash in Paris post show. It's your girl, Denise Salcedo, and I'm very happy to be here with you all today because we ended today's show with a bang. All right, we had a lot of different theories as to what was going to go down, what was going to happen at the end of the match. People were expecting shenanigans in the World Heavyweight Championship photo, I was just thinking, okay, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are going to come back because they were banned. And everyone knows, like, Wrestling 101 is like, oh, someone gets banned. Well, they're definitely coming back because they don't ever stay away. But then as the show went on, we had a lot of people theorizing that, hey, we might see a fourth new member. And there were some people throwing out the name of Tony D, who's somebody on the NXT side. We had one person earlier that was in the watch along that was saying, hey, what if it's Becky Lynch? This takes us back to when the Vision first started. Coming off of WrestleMania, Becky Lynch's name was a name that was thrown around a whole lot by a lot of people. A lot of people wanted to see Becky Lynch join the Vision at the very early start of it, but then it ended up going in the direction of Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, which I thought was freaking cool because you got two, very, very talented dudes there with Bron and Bronson. So that's where we were at. But now we officially had Becky Lynch join the Vision. And so we need to break this down because, look, I know I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I don't want to get your hopes up. But I hope that WWE realizes how many people are now going to be expecting AJ Lee. All right. Now, for a long time, people have been wondering, is AJ Lee going to come back? When the second CM Punk came back to WWE, everybody was wondering, is AJ going to come back? Will she be here? Will it happen? And she's got like a bunch of endeavors. You know, she does a lot of writing. She's, working on her own projects and whatnot. She's doing her thing, right? She hasn't been in WWE for a very long time. And a lot has changed since she's last been there, right? But now, look, I cannot blame people if they feel like there's a chance here. If there was ever a feeling like if we were at 0%, I feel like now the percentage of a possibility of AJ coming back for this particular story, I can see why people would go there. And the reason being that during this match, there was a moment before we had the Becky interference and everything that Seth Rollins, when he curb stomped CM Punk, was yelling at CM Punk and telling him, I hate your family. And I remember pointing it out during the watch along and going, wow, you not only hate CM Punk, you hate his whole family? Damn, what did AJ Lee and Larry do to you, right? Kind of a freaking joke. And then when Becky Lynch came out and she ended up CM Punk was about to hit another GTS on Seth Rollins, but instead we see a person dressed all in black come out and hit a low blow on CM Punk, right? And instantly I kind of looked at that. I'm like, yeah, that looks like a woman. I'm like, that doesn't look like a man's body. That definitely looks like a woman. And I started to think, like, is it going to be Becky? If it's a woman, it would have to be Becky Lynch, or maybe it's just a really, really slim dude. I don't know. But finally, when the moment came that it was Becky Lynch and she's unmasked and she helped Seth Rollins secure this victory, it really does feel like, okay, now there feels like an opportunity that if in the realm of possibility, AJ Lee did come back, well, there's kind of a perfect story here right now where, hey, you got this woman out here messing with your man, your husband, hitting him with a low blow, screwing him like, we got to do something about that. Now, again, I don't know if that's what's going to happen. It's really hard to try to see if that's legitimately going to happen because it feels, at least to me, that AJ Lee has been pretty adamant about how she's off doing her own projects. But earlier in the night, I was talking about never say never in the world of professional wrestling. We never thought CM Punk was coming back. He's back. So there is a world where AJ Lee can maybe actually come back. I don't know. She's still hella fit. She looks amazing. You guys, I'm sure, have seen pictures of her. She looks amazing. Of course, we don't know. At least I don't know if she's been still, getting in the ring. I don't know how that whole thing has gone on. That don't know. But at least I will say this though, is if there was ever a chance, I think there is a slight chance now. But maybe I've just gotten my own damn hopes up and we'll see what happens. But now, with Becky Lynch joining Seth Rollins in the Vision, this is why I like this. So I like this for a couple of reasons. One, it adds a little bit of very different dynamic. Okay, we've had lots of real on-screen husband and wives that have joined up together in WWE. Of course, you can mention several. One of the famous ones, of course, Triple H and Stephanie. You got to mention them. And hey, who's booking creative right now? Triple H. Okay. Anyways, so Becky now joining in Seth Rollins. We have known for several years that they've been married. We've known all of that. But to see them together on the screen in this type of fashion, I think it's great because even like the last several months, Becky Lynch has been making a lot of references to Seth Rollins, where she's talking about consistently her hot husband. All of the shots that she threw to Nikki Bella about how she and John Cena could have been the hot couple, but now she can't even see him. And that whole big shocking moment. And now we are seeing her continue to now not only mention, but also join the group. So I think maybe all of the signs were there that she was going to join. And with her new version that we've been seeing, this more angry, this more meaner version of Becky Lynch has been going very well, in my opinion. I think her promos have been great. The matches, the way she's made the Intercontinental Women's Championship really means something. All of that feels like it's been going very well. And I think if anyone has the talent, if anyone has the star power to be in a group like this, it is definitely Becky Lynch. So it's going to add a whole new dynamic to the Vision. And I hope that I just want to my hopes for this group is I just want to see Bronson and Bron Breakker really get something out of this, because Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are far more made. Their careers are far more made already than theirs are. So I just want to see it all really accumulate very nicely to see Bronson and Bron Breakker really continue to blow up in the spotlight. And it's going to be interesting to also see her with like Paul Heyman, who's also the manager of the group and everything. So the whole dynamic feels fresh. It feels exciting. I'm on board with this, guys. Like I am fully on board with Becky Lynch being part of the Vision. So let's see what everyone is saying here. And if you guys feel the same way, or if you feel differently about this, let's see what everyone thinks. All right, so we got Frank here. We'll kick it off with Frank, who says AJ Lee is coming in. Hell yeah, LFG, only reason. I don't think it's the only reason, but it ties in very nicely. I think even if AJ Lee, let's say she doesn't come back and she isn't part of this, it would kind of be like, aw, damn, because we all know CM Punk's got somebody that can fight and that can fight back. And a lot of people would like to see that with her and Becky. But look, regardless, even if AJ Lee doesn't come back and she doesn't get involved in this, I'm still interested in what they're going to do with Becky in this spot, because I feel like, it's not every day that we get a really strong female that's part of a big group like this with people that are stars and people that are gonna be really big stars, like future main eventers. So I think this is something that is gonna be very cool to see. Thank you, Frank. We got McTaro here who says, now I hate the Vision. See what I mean, guys? I knew everyone was gonna feel differently about this. You either hate it or you love it. Let's see where we're at. McTaro's not on board. We got Sammy Sawan Boone who says, I think AJ Lee will return on Raw tomorrow. You see what I'm saying, guys? Like, no matter what, the conversation about AJ Lee is going to be happening, regardless of whether or not she's planned for this. Her name is going to be thrown out a whole lot. And I do think people are going to be expecting it now more than ever. We got McTaru, who also says, time to bring AJ Lee back to WWE, and the crowd will go boinkerly crazy pop. She will get a massive pop, guys. Like, she's somebody that, she really made a mark in WWE in the women's division, and she inspired so many of the women's wrestlers that you're seeing right now. A big one who's always talking about how much she loves AJ Lee is Roxanne Perez, who is literally at the top of her game when it comes to in-ring skills in the women's division, is Roxanne Perez. Like, she's awesome. And, she grew up watching and idolizing AJ Lee. So it is very cool, man, just to, first of all, see the evolution of that. But regardless, I think people are expecting it. Thank you, McTaru. We got Perfect Plex here who says, I really like Becky in the faction better than Ricky joining. That was another name we had thought about, was people throwing out the name of Ricky Saints. I love Ricky Saints, but he's preoccupied right now with Obafemi. He's bound to be NXT champion. So I do think Ricky Saints is going to be a main event guy, but right now he's kind of preoccupied in another world. I think Becky right now for this moment and where we're at and what she's doing makes the most sense. We got Frank here who says, hearing Taylor's song for the upcoming Dallas versus Eagles game commercial should give us a big hint she's doing Super Bowl. Her songs have been playing for the NFL for a while. She's had a couple of her songs playing before. Thank you, Infamous. We got Bailey Darley here who says, I hope AJ Lee comes with Light It Up. That's a fun song too. But I think as long as she comes out, people are going to be like, AJ Lee. So, hey, man, I don't know. I haven't gone on Twitter yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if AJ Lee's name is already trending. And I hope, but like, let's say AJ Lee doesn't come out. I hope WWE's not surprised that people are expecting this. You know what I'm saying? I don't want this to be a situation where we were all expecting The Rock and The Rock didn't come out. I don't want to see something like that happen here where we're like, we're all expecting AJ Lee and AJ Lee didn't come out. Of course, different situations, but a little similar. Thank you, Bailey. We got Infamous Raider Loco who says CM Punk grabbed a sign on a post show that says CM Punk bring AJ Lee back, and he scratches his chin like, shut up. Did you really do that? Oh, nice. Thank you for letting me know, because I'm not watching the show right now. So thank you. We got Steven here who says mixed tag for ESPN debut. Yo, I didn't even think about that right now. And we were talking today about how this show was not, it's funny because when we were watching this, I was saying, damn, this is the only women's match of the night is Becky Lynch versus Nikki Bella. And let's just be real, the match wasn't great. It was what it was. It was fun to see them work together. I respect both of them. I love what they've done both for the business, but it just wasn't the greatest match. But I also don't really think I expected this match to be great. I don't think many people did. And mind you, Nikki Bella, she's not that active anymore. She's been doing other things and whatnot. And the fact that she can still go out there and go and do this was nice, but it's just different levels of in-ring work and different experience levels now. So the match just didn't feel like the caliber of women's matches that we are seeing nowadays. And a lot of the women have really, like, the bar has just been raised so much that whenever you do kind of get a match like this that doesn't really go off that well, it tends to get judged a little bit more harshly than if it were a men's match that didn't really go that well. People would be like, oh, well, whatever, it just sucked, moving on, right? But with the women, it's like, oh, damn, like that was our only women's match and that's what we got, damn. It gets a little bit more of a bigger reaction when it's not as good as what we're used to seeing. So I kind of felt like, damn, today really isn't the strongest night for the women, which sucks because I always like to see them go out there and have their moments and, their matches and all of that. But then with Becky Lynch coming out afterwards and joining the Vision, I thought that was a really great way to make it feel far more important having for a woman to be part of a group like this. So granted, of course, Becky Lynch has already done so much in her career, so she's kind of earned these kind of spots. She's a draw. Becky Lynch is a draw, so Becky Lynch is awesome. But the other thing that Steven just mentioned here, the possibility of that WrestlePalooza is I assuming looking like a really big show, considering that it's their ESPN debut on the platform. We're most likely going to get Brock and John for that. I would assume we're going to get Stephanie finally competing for the championship, so we'll see. We still don't know exactly what's happening there. And now look at some other possibilities. We got CJ here who says, what would you rate this PLE out of 10? CJ, it's a great question. I didn't think this was the strongest PLE. I can tell you exactly right now, the best moments was Roman and Bronson and the match that they had. Roman and Bronson had a match that I thought made Bronson look like $1,000,000 because Bronson is, he's a meaty guy, right? Like that's who he is. That's, part of the appeal. But he's a guy that can, even though he's meaty, he can move, he can fly. But Roman, for a majority of the match, was not able to get the upper hand at all on Bronson. Like he kept trying to even like lift him up, take him down, and he wasn't able to. And when he finally did, when he finally clotheslined him over the top rope, everybody was like, yeah, like shit, he finally did it. He brought the big man down. But the way that Roman struggled to do that made Bronson Reed look so much better. Roman Reigns has faced and defeated so many big stars in WWE, and for him to look like he's struggling in the ring with Bronson Reed, it only makes Bronson Reed look like a bigger threat. And that's why I liked Roman versus Bronson. Now, and there was a moment in that match, by the way, when Roman went for the spear and he just went right into like Bronson's stomach, and Bronson's stomach was like a brick wall. I love that spot. So like he didn't even get to execute his spear at that moment. He did later on, but I love that moment. But it was really the aftermath of this match that most people are going to remember, because from the looks of it, Roman Reigns has been written off of television for the time being. Everyone knows that he's going to be shooting Street Fighter. So he's going to be preoccupied with some other outside projects over on the Hollywood world. But this lasted, I think, 50 minutes, like with entrances and just everything, maybe even more than 50 minutes, because there was also the backstage scene. So nearly an hour of this. It was nonstop spears from Braun Breaker. It was tsunamis from Bronson Reed. Like they did everything they possibly could to essentially make Roman Reigns into a flat pancake. Okay, a flat pancake is where we're at here. I love the beatdown. I love the attack. It did go on a really, really long time, but I kind of liked it though, because I kept thinking, like, how much more are they going to do this? Eventually, Jey Uso did go out there to help, but he was so late. At that point, Roman Reigns was spewing his guts out. Like, there was really nothing left of Roman Reigns at that point. But I did feel like I like this for the main reason that it made Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed look like absolute killers. Like, if I was a wrestler on this roster, I would not want to cross paths with these guys. I would not want to make eye contact with them because they will kill me. That's the kind of vibe that this post-match attack gave. And I think that's what the Vision has needed, because for a while, it almost felt like they were making them a little bit into a comedy act. Not so much, but there were some moments that I didn't love, that it kind of stripped a little bit of what made Bronson and Braun Breaker special. And I didn't want that. So I think that today's post-match attack just really made them look like $1,000,000,000. So I was a big fan of how that whole portion played out. So that was a really strong moment. The other really strong matches that we had was, of course, the main event. I know I mainly talked about the aftermath, but the actual match with Seth and Jay and LA Knight and Punk, I thought was really cool. They had some good moments. At one point, they were all teaming up against Seth Rollins. We got to see just overall, I thought it was a fine, like the pace of the match kept moving. And I think that's what I enjoyed, because the previous match with John Cena and Logan Paul, that one, I kind of have like mixed feelings about it. There was moments that I thought were good, and the pacing wasn't bad either, but there was a tiny lull that did kind of get me out of the match for a second. But the crowd, though, I think the crowd is what really kept me invested in Logan Paul and John Cena. The crowd was, redeeming Cena and just being so excited that they were seeing John Cena for the final time, that it made me devote myself more into being locked into this match. What I did like from this match, aside from the crowd, was John Cena trying out all of these new moves and bringing more moves into his arsenal in this match here. And the reason I like this wasn't just because, I like to see John Cena do a Code Red. It's not just because I like to see John Cena do a Styles Clash. It was also because this tied into a shot that was thrown to him on SmackDown by Logan Paul, when Logan Paul had said, you've only been doing 5 moves your entire career. And so John Cena going out there and doing a little bit more kind of throwing salt on the wound of Logan Paul when he was saying that basically like STFU, I can do a little bit more than you think. So overall, this isn't like those kind of matches that I would put on my like top 20 list or whatever, but I do think a lot of people are going to look back at this match fondly because it wasn't bad. I thought Logan Paul brought his A game. And of course, John Cena did too. And just seeing him really have his moment afterwards, there were some people that were wondering whether or not we'd see Brock Lesnar returned. I think the second that John and Logan wasn't the main event, I think the chances of Brock coming out began to lessen in people's minds. But even afterwards, when John Cena was having his moment and he was out there kissing his wife after the match and celebrating with Post Malone and Jelly Roll, the big celebration, there was this moment where you thought, are they extending this just so John Cena can have his moment with the French crowd? Or are they queuing up for something to happen here? And it didn't happen because the big moment would come afterwards at the end of the main event. So I actually love that they let John Cena go out there and have the full moment to fully embrace the French crowd, because he really hasn't been able to do that in all his matches because he was a heel for a good amount of them. So for him to actually get the moment to soak in the crowd, I thought was awesome for John, especially considering that we are down to single digits, ladies and gents. That's where we're at. We got a super chat here from Issa David. Thank you so much for the super chat. Says they expect us to pay $30 a month after this dud of a PLE. Nah, I'm good. I think it will be Nikki Bella teaming up with Punk instead of AJ Lee. Hey, you might be onto something. Look, again, I don't want to get your hopes up for AJ Lee. I don't want to get my hopes up. I think I slightly did, though. I don't want to, but without doing so, I think I slightly did. But it could. Nikki Bella and Becky didn't really have the best match today, so I don't really know how much more I want to see of that. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But thank you so much, Issa David, for sending this in. We got JJ Castillo. JJ, thank you so much for the support. JJ says, I'm glad WWE is continuing doing a Europe tour next year. The crowds always make the shows fun to watch. Hoping for a future WrestleMania in London. I mean, fingers crossed, man. It feels like at this point, come on. Stop holding off on WrestleMania in London. Make that shit happen. And after London, go in there and hit up some more places, man, because I really think that it makes WrestleMania feel even bigger when you are in front of audiences like that, and when you are in an international, outside of the US. I do think that adds to the gravitas of WWE. So I'm with it, man. I 100% support the idea of WrestleMania in London. Thank you, JJ, for the love and the support, man. All right. So the other thing that I want to get at, the other highlight of the show for me was Rusev and Sheamus. So this one, I thought they went 20 minutes in this good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. What I liked about this match was they came out to work, man. They have their working shoes on. Throughout the entire thing, they didn't, BS it. They went out there. They tried to make the most fun match they possibly could. My favorite moments was the spot off the barrel. Getting to see that was cool. It was the little things in this match, too, that, for example, like Rusev hitting Sheamus with the shillelagh on his back. I thought that shit was brutal. Them going out there and hitting the chops on each other's chest, both of them, because at one point we even saw Rusev do it to Sheamus. My favorite, though, is when Sheamus used the shillelagh and started beating on freaking Rusev's chest. I was like, yo, protect the titties. That was fun, though, and that's what I think. Like, I think that they put a lot of effort into the match, and it really stood out at this point in the card, because you got to understand, we opened the show with Bronson and Roman. That took a bunch of time, and it was great, right? But then afterwards, we had the two matches that I did not enjoy on the card. I didn't like Becky and Nikki, and I didn't like the WWE tag team match with the Street Profits and the Wyatt Six. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't a PLE caliber match whatsoever. And that's why at that point I was kind of like, ooh, two matches back to back that I really wasn't feeling so good about. I thought made Rusev and Sheamus stand out even so much more on this show. And of course, when you have, this type of stipulation, it just makes it a little bit more fun and a little bit more enjoyable. So that's, another thing to bring up. But that's where we're at with this show. Let me finish off the let me finish off the super chats and then we're pretty much a wrap here. We got CJ here who says, love the breakdown, Denise, but what's your rating? Oh shit, did I forget to answer that? I'm so sorry, CJ. I went off on like this and that and this and that I actually forgot to give an actual rating. So you said out of 10, I would probably say 6.5 to a 7. I got to give the 6.5 to a 7 primarily because of those moments that I mentioned. Roman, Bron, Bronson, Becky's big exclamation point finish with her coming out and joining the Vision. I thought that was really cool. And John Cena and Logan Paul not being terrible, in my opinion. It was fine. So those are really the things that carried the show to a 6.57. I can't say 5. 5 just feels too low. Feels too low to say 5, but I also feel a little generous saying 6.5. So let's just go with a 6. Is a 6 good? Mind you, I just feel like there's been a couple of stronger PLEs for sure. That's just how I feel about that. But CJ, thank you so much for the question and following up and sending the super chat. Mr. GRK Chef 13 says, if AJ Lee doesn't come back, Punk will turn to Roxanne. It crossed my mind considering that, even AJ Lee herself has referred to Roxanne Perez as her daughter, and she's been out there and she bonds with CM Punk, and we all kind of know that there's, this really cool connection between that was, someone she looked up to, and she looked up to him, and she looked up to his wife, and all of that. So if anybody was going to get the stamp of approval, I think Roxanne Perez would get the stamp of approval. So I could see that playing out as well. Thank you, Mr. GRK Chef 13. We got Lewis Rothel here who says Cena should not have needed 4 attitude adjustments to finish Logan. Look, I agree with that, but WWE nowadays, they tend to make sure to add a lot more to make the finish seem more grander. And that's kind of like the formula where they've been at for a while. And again, 1 is enough, right? Maybe 2 is enough. We're kind of good with that. But I think they like to add a little extra more just to make it feel like a bigger, stronger end to the match. Thank you, Lewis, for sending in the super chat. Much appreciated. All right, we got, let's see. We got Infamous Raider Loco here who says, light it up is the only way AJ needs 28 to be brought back. Excuse me. I need my glasses, guys. Infamous Raider Loco says, light it up is the only way AJ needs to be brought back. Man, the second you see her like Tron and everything, God, it's going to be very cool. A very fucking cool moment. So, and I'm saying it like it's going to happen. I shouldn't say it like that because if it doesn't happen, then womp womp. Thank you, Frank. We got CJ here says, we at the DWO love the passion of our leader. Thank you so much, CJ. Seriously, guys. I think with that is our Clash in Paris review. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today on the watch along, on the the watch along, on the post show, on all of that, because today was a little bit of a harder day for me just because I was so fucking tired from just the traveling stuff that I dealt with. But I'm still posting daily pro wrestling content here on the channel. I'm actually incredibly backed up in terms of videos that I still need to post and clips and things like that. So keep an eye out. I will probably be dropping some today. And then tomorrow, I'm going to drop an interview with Lex Luger. Hopefully, if all is good, I will get that out there. If not, just keep an eye out for it. But yeah, there's a lot coming to the channel, and I'm going to be doing as much as I possibly could. All the coverage will be here for Raw, just everything, Raw, NXT, and so on as we continue the rest of the year. But thank you guys so much for being here. As always, please do not forget to subscribe. If you're new here and you enjoyed the channel, please subscribe. Head on over to TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram @ Denise Salcedo, especially my Instagram and Facebook. I've been really pushing those the hardest because I feel like I've been seeing more growth on those platforms right now. So I definitely want to keep pushing those as well. So if you haven't yet, @ Denise Salcedo across social media. Thank you guys so much and enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. Bye.